Survivor Gabon. Of all the seasons I've watched so far, this was the one I was actually so excited to talk about the most. And of course, that's what reason the fact that Survivor Gabon was the season that actually made me a Survivor fan. And October 3rd, 2008 was the day I became a Survivor fan. I started watching the show, and I've been OBSESED obsessed ever since. So I wasn't sure what I was obviously feeling about what was going on and everything. And obviously what was going to happen. But I'm happy to say that I still enjoyed Gabon. It's something that I can say. Gabon is definitely one of those seasons that is going to be for everybody, that's for sure, honestly. And it could be a little bit nostalgia bias, honestly, for me, honestly, but Gabon is one of those seasons that's kind of a clusterfuck. To where there are some elements you probably shouldn't enjoy. It goes in some very weird directions with its players and has a winner that just even admits about Trump they didn't know what the hell they were doing. And has some questionable moves and some terrible gameplay and some aspects that should make you not enjoy the season. But I think when it comes to the players that you get and the contestants that end up playing this season, you just can't help but just enjoy every single second of this insane, crazy train wreckiness. It's pretty much this is like I said, Survivor Gabon is, as I say, a train wreck piece, a disaster piece, a season that's just kind of terrible in a lot of areas in terms of how the season is structured, how the contestants play, and some aspects of the season. Yet I would still consider Gabon to be one of my favorite seasons, and this rewatch kind of cemented that, honestly. So I could definitely see why people would not enjoy Gabon, honestly. I can definitely see why people would not enjoy this season as much as I would, honestly. But again, I just had a big grin on my face throughout. I just kind of stopped laughing and smashing myself in this crazy train-wrecking nature of this season. Seeing Assassin's play probably some of the worst games ever in Survivor history, and seems these weird directing choices they end up making, and how having another tribe ends up losing majority of the challenges, and also having a player that is probably also to be the most swamp screw player in the show's history, someone who actually got so much screen time it's meant to be winner, and yet he gets the first win of the jury. But yeah, let's talk about the train wrecking this year. That's young. Of course, we talk about the cast, honestly, where we get Michelle and Jillian, who are both in the first episode of the season, when Michelle basically plays one of the worst games I first would shoot to by being so negative and no one wanted to keep us by her being a strong player. And the old woman Jillian ends up getting voted out next. Paloma was fine, Jackie was fine, probably the least notable characters, and I was associating with Kelly as well. Then you got GC, someone who said, I'm going to be the leader. But it's like, nah, I don't want to be a leader anymore. I hate this experience. Please vote me out. Yeah, she didn't like that, but yeah, I think the way it happened was still kind of hilarious. Then we get to Ace, who honestly, I enjoyed Ace so much more as we watched. I've always loved Ace, honestly. But I just loved him so much more here, basically. He's just a fantastic character. He literally is kind of like a Bond villain, honestly, but he's lived in the show, someone who basically is a Bond villain. And for a while, actually played pretty well, but got a little bit too cocky for his own good, which led to even his closest ally, Sugar, voting against him. Which shouldn't have happened, but Ace was just a fantastic villain, fantastic character, one of the best, probably one of my favorite pretty much characters of all time. You also got Dan, may he rest in peace, because he did pass away. But who had also an interesting run this season, he was also someone that kind of was also paranoid and didn't really gel with, which kind of led to Miyavetta, which really shouldn't really have happened as much as it did, but yeah. Then we get to Marcus, who is probably debated with Aaron's probably the biggest swamp screw player, as he was probably the dominant force throughout his tribe. He was the big leader. He was given a lot of screen time, a lot of focus. It's one of the biggest, Marcus is probably one of the biggest edgic line sides in the show's history, because considering all the screen time he's getting and all the people talking about how great he is and everything, you would think that he actually would be a great player, that he actually would end up winning the season. But no, when the tribe ends switching again, he ended up being tried with Susie, Bob, Crystal, and Ken. Okay, he ended up getting blindsided. In a position where he probably shouldn't have, honestly, but that's what happened. Again, look, this is probably the biggest actor's blindside in the show's history, because I kind of realized how big it was actually to I actually watched it. It seems like, holy shit. Holy shit. And of course, the reaction to basically showing Crib is like, Bermeza, which is one of the biggest memes in the show's history. Then you got his closest ally, Charlie, which I kind of like the weird friendship throughout the season where Charlie's like, I love my kids. But I actually like Charlie this season, actually. Then you got Randy, who had one of the biggest epic downfalls out there, where basically they didn't try to hide a meme vote out. Bob gave him fake idol, and then he tried to play like one good votes on him so he can get put down in blindside, but he ended up playing it, everyone ended up laughing at him, and well, yeah. And then get to Corinne, who is also one of the better Mean Girls that I watched. Like, I noticed I'm not really a huge fan of the Mean Girl archetype in reality shows. I think mostly because of how too petty they can be, and just it can not make fun of the entertaining. Like, obviously, pettiness is okay, but it's reality TV, obviously. But sometimes it can be a bit too much. But Corinne really hams it up. You can kind of enjoy her, especially with her final child speech, especially to Sugar and Susie, which I'll get into. Then we get to Crystal Cox, who's one of the most hilarious figures in the show's history for someone who apparently was an Olympian, actually, a track and field athlete. Someone who actually was an actual Olympic athlete, and she had to be one of the worst challenge performances in the show's history. We couldn't help but just freaking laugh your ass off on all of that. Like, I was laughing so goddamn hard and everything about Crystal that she ended up failing so much. But again, it's really entertaining. Then we get to Ken, who is actually one of the better players of the season. I definitely still enjoyed him this time around, actually. Great player, definitely had a fun downfall, but definitely had a good presence. Maddie was also someone I actually enjoyed so much more here. I've always liked Maddie, but again, another player I enjoyed more here, honestly. Someone who actually was probably could have won, actually, if he made it to the end, actually, as it was confirmed in the reunion. And around, Maddie was a great player. Again, shocking we actually never see him actually return, honestly. Then we get to the weirdest final three in the show's history, where we have Sugar, who probably was the main character of the season, has a lot of great confessionals, had a lot of great moments, and of course had a lot of focus on her following the passing of her dad, which is very sad. It had some pretty emotional moments, and she also found the idol, and she had against her exile 5 times, no joke. And I like Sugar, honestly. I liked her on this season, honestly. She's probably my favorite player of this season. Problem is, people didn't really like her, which led her to actually receive no vote at Final Tribal. Which is kind of weird, actually. But you know, this is one case where I actually would. This is probably the only case, though, I actually would vote for the second runner-up, actually. Not sure there's other cases I don't have mistaken, but yeah, this is one of the rare cases where I actually would vote for the second runner-up of the season. Also, then against like Susie and Bob. Susie's a weird figure on this season. Someone who was definitely made fun of. Someone who was definitely had a weird underrated game and was really edited throughout. I like Susie throughout, but just gameplay not the greatest, and definitely had some questionable moments throughout. But the show's fine. Then we get to Robert Bob Crowley, who I always hear from a lot of people that he's probably one of the worst winners in the show's history in terms of gameplay front. And after watching this, I definitely stand by that he's one of the worst players in the show. Just like gameplay, he's the worst. Like, someone who's been on the bottom for the majority of the season, someone who basically did not know what the hell he was doing. He even admitted that about Tribal. I still like Bob. I think Bob was actually a pretty likable one, actually. I'm actually okay with him winning, actually. But, yeah, in terms of gameplay, yeah. Like, he was actually kind of lucky he ended up winning as much as he did, actually. Considering, obviously, he was on the jury and everything. But again, I still liked him, honestly. Like, again, terrible to his gameplay. Like, his most noble move is basically giving a fake idol to one of his allies, or one of his allies in reality, just to appease the other side, which ended up, yeah. Sorry, but yes, that's what happened. That's just what's happened. But again, how the season is structured and does things that you probably wouldn't actually see on Survivor. Like, I think it's actually a little scene where anything actually really show Marcus's area on the show, Whether it's untouchable or not, it's pretty hilarious. You can get some very fun challenge moments where they end up tricking trying to do this and that. You can get one moment basically they actually were close. Joe was close to having to win, but they ended up arguing about it. Like that's something you would not see on a regular season. It makes for pretty hilarious moments. Then of course you got the iconic Randy Bird episode where basically they don't try to hide about him being voted out. You also got a memorable auction where basically he tried the cookie. You got into the cookies where you trying to give Sugar a cookie, but she refused, and then basically she ended up getting hers to Maddie anyway, and then probably the cookie situation ended up actually costing Susie the win. Actually, no joke. That actually was the case. Actually. But you get some great back and forth between a lot of the players in this season. You get some really fun blindsides, like I mentioned, with the Ace blindside, the Marcus Edgic blindside, the Charlie blindside, the whole Raining episode is one of the most hilarious episodes in the show's history. But it's unintentional or not, because it's sometimes I always start an episode where basically they kind of make fun and laugh about Randy's like idol and everything, and how they portrayed it was just, and all the stuff they said and everything, and something I probably shouldn't enjoy, but yeah, but. And then after you also get three of the most memorable confessionals in shows yesterday where Randy first he was like, "This vote isn't strategic, it's strictly personal." And I don't remember what Sugar said, but he was like, "Loser," and said he's a bigot and everything. They got Chris's iconic line, "You have made my life hell from day one. Forget you, go home, get back." Which is goddamn hilarious. Oh my god. Oh god. Honestly, Gabon is one of those seasons that you probably should see for yourself. I think I kind of made my peace on this season actually. Despite the fact that I probably shouldn't have as high up my ranking, I still love this season. Again, my nostalgia talking because again, this was the first Survivor season I ever watched. But screw it, it's a 10 out of 10. It does have its issues. They have a couple not the most interesting players, but Gabon is just a train wreck season that I just can't help that just ends up a little bit stuck around to be a fantastic season. So yeah, it's one of my favorites. Yeah, maybe nostalgia talking, but screw it. Screw it. Okay, it's a season that's definitely not for everybody, that's for sure, but if you're something that likes Survivor seasons, I would say you have a blast. And now we get to the first true Survivor season that I actually did watch as fully as it was airing. I think I got into Gabon probably around episode 7. This was my first time watching it as it was officially airing again. I wasn't sure how Tokyo was going to be on a rewatch, but thankfully I'm happy to report that Tokyo does hold up pretty well upon rewatch. To watch what I think this is another fantastic season of the show. First off, again, it being said, obviously, you know, in the Brazilian highlands and everything, it's just, oh my god, this is like one of the most beautiful locations that Survivor's ever done. Like the shots, the scenery, the dental locations, like, you just can't help but take your eyes off the beauty of the sequences. And there's so many gorgeous shots in general, it's just chef's kiss. And again, that season we do get a pretty solid cast, along with some interesting players that do have some interesting things later on, and probably one of the best characters to ever appear on Survivor. As well, and to what basically, well, some of the pre-Drake characters on the most greatest in the world, like Caitlyn was pretty much one of the most predictable burst boots in the history of the show. Should not surprise him when Candace Spence also got booted later on. Sandy was an all-time great pre-match character. Spencer actually had some better moments that I remember him being. I think people more remember him nowadays though for actually dating Todd. He actually did take Todd at one point. And even Cindy does have her moments as well. But pretty much still has his good moments. Of course, the Exile Alliance and the back and forth between all the characters and back and forth between all the players that make things pretty interesting. The interesting thing about the idol hunts and this and that, it just made things pretty compelling and interesting throughout. Then you got the men back and forth with Joe, who definitely have back and forth with Taj and had some fun moments. Like, obviously, who knew how far he actually was going to make it if obviously he didn't get evacuated, but that's what it is. But pretty much everyone for the final 9 are all just fantastic. Again, Brendan definitely had a really epic fun downfall. The Trump Council, where basically he kind of just pushes stuff away from the exiles, which left people not trusting him, which made for some hilarious moments. And then get the first appearance of Tyson, who of course becomes more of a legend later on. One for not the best of reasons, because he ends up winning Blood vs. Water, and he ends up being Young Wins the War. He appeared on Challenge USA 1. So Tyson is definitely a memorable Survivor character. And he was definitely interesting on the first time around, too. He was kind of seen like a bully and jerk and an asshole, honestly, and to be honest, Tyson still is always that character, honestly, but this is definitely his most apparent assholeness. But I used to not like Tyson, honestly, but again, similar to one player we'll get into later, I definitely grown a lot more towards Tyson. And I definitely still enjoy him this time around, for his blind side is just epic. And then there's Sierra, who definitely had a fun underdog journey through her time on the show, too, where she was as a very weak player, and was most notorious because obviously she was associated with Brendan. But she had her fun moments, and I would say the same thing with Debbie. She also had her fun moments. Well, I was a lot more underrated character, honestly, and she had some pretty great back and forth moments that a lot of moments I was expecting, actually. And of course, you cannot talk about Survivor Token Jeans. You cannot talk about Survivor Token Jeans without talking about the great Benjamin Coach Wade. Like, he is without that one of the craziest, the most unique Survivor characters, like, ever. He's one of those characters that is honestly unlike any characters we ever seen before and since, honestly. And to what he's telling his crazy stories, and a lot of the insane stuff that he went through, and his mantra, and him basically just calling himself the Dragon Slayer. Like, again, similar to Tyson, I used to despise Coach. I used to hate him with a burning passion. To be honest, I don't remember why, honestly. Again, I was a weird age at the time, so I was a weird age at the time. I think it was before I got in high school, so what was it? I think it was before I got in high school, so I was a weird age at the time, so again, similar to a couple players, I certainly don't remember why I really hated Coach at the time. I mean, true, he's definitely, like I would say, he's a player that's not for everybody. He's a player that's not going to be for everyone's cup of tea because of his crazy insaneness and stories that he will tell. He's definitely not everyone's cup of tea, I'm admit that, but he's definitely probably one of the most unique players and characters to ever appear on Survivor before and since, honestly. Because I don't think we were ever going to get a character like Coach, and I'm serious, he easily bumped his season up for me. He easily steals every single scene that he's in. And like all his seasons, he ends up stealing the show with his mantras and everything, and all the crazy stories that he would tell, and of course there's that iconic episode of in the Model Approach, which is pretty much a Coach-centric episode, and I will talk about that in a bit, but yeah, Coach, he's the one of the players that definitely gone way up on my rewatch. So like, I was like laughing so hard of his many zany character moments. I just couldn't help but enjoy him whenever he was on screen half the time. And then there was Taj, who apparently was actually was actually one that was singing of some group called SUV, who of course did a song, I get so weak in the knees and on my knees, and believe that your love, it makes me weak. I didn't know all this to that song, but that's basically a very popular R&B ballad. And Tom was definitely also a great character throughout. She definitely has a lot of fun moments. Of course, her iconic moment at the loved one's visit is definitely very memorable. And with just so many emotional moments and having a great back and forth with Steven and JT throughout. To obviously the end of cutting her because she was going to be a very popular threat. And Tom was just a great character and a great presence throughout. And really a shame never actually see her return, but she definitely proved that she is a lot better into the game than I actually remember being, actually. A lot more memorable character. And I would say it's the thing with Erin, actually. To that she actually has a lot more good character moments than I remember having. Honestly, there's not much I really to say about Erin, honestly, but she is still a welcome addition. And of course, there's one of the best final two, one of the best duos in Survivor history, Stephen Fishback and James JT Thomas Jr. And Stephen Fishback is also an incredible character and incredible presence throughout. Like, he's actually like honestly, he was actually played one of the best. Like he actually plays one of the best second place games of all time. Honestly, and despite him obviously losing unanimously, it was just he was up against JT. It was just he was up against him, who was one of the most likable presidents ever. So his case where JT didn't really do anything wrong. Honestly, it's just JT was more of a popular player. So what's that? Steven Prison, he definitely is an incredible player, an incredible presence, and his back and forth JT in the cast is just fantastic. Especially some of his fun professionals, especially with his win lighting one of the Brent Trump Council was just fantastic. And then there's JT, who at this time played the true first perfect game in our history, where he announced he won against them and received all the votes of our Trump Council. And at this time, he was one of the most likable players in the show's history. To the point where people even gave up their games for JT. That's how great of a presence that he was. And he plays one of the most impressive winning games out there. He was just a charming, likable presence. He can have, in my head, Kelly's winning game, he's fantastic. Again, we'll definitely get to his own appearances and hear his villains and game changers, which definitely brought his legacy really down, honestly, game changers especially. But in this season, he was one of the best players of all time at the time. I remember when that was a time, actually. So, yeah, JT. The overall cast, pretty great. Like I said, for Coach was a memorable contestant, and I remember people always praising the episode The Modern Approach, which is the episode 4 of the finale, as one of the best episodes in the show's history. Which pretty much like showcases, which is on that perfect showcases Coach's incredible presence as a character and his Dragon Slayer-esque persona. And well, yeah, I can see why people like. I know some behind this is part of the favorite episode in the show's history. I don't remember actually for like I don't think I actually really thought about what actually are my actual favorite episodes, for being honest. But it is definitely up there, that's for sure. Like, I can definitely see why people talk about this episode very highly, because it is one of the best character-centric episodes of all time. Just how they had to pretty much, like, take advantage of Coach's persona, basically they have him in Exile Island, they had this, like, glaring music, like, the music was really blaring, and really taking Coach's persona into full gear. And of course, the challenge where he ends up ends up falling down, and then it eventually led to his vote outs. Like, again, it's an episode you just need to see to believe. And again, you get the fun blindsides. Again, the Brendan Tyson blindsides are just fantastic. In general, again, you get some great character mums as well. Again, probably one of my favorite loved one visits, honestly. Like, I don't know if I mentioned this throughout this series, but I honestly really love the one-on-one visits, honestly. I don't know, they were just so emotional to watch. It's unfortunate they haven't done any rare, but and that's probably because of COVID, but it's pretty unfortunate, honestly. There used to be on some of my favorite parts of the seasons, honestly. I don't know why seeing people get so emotional to the loved ones after like almost a month. And then also get some pretty emotional, touching moments. You just can't help but smile and feel great. And remember, like, alright, these people actually are actual people. People, of course, also one more member, Austin, for basically telling to get the video from her husband, and George, like, see you back in the camera. I was like, see you back in the camera. Like she gets so emotional and like, holy shit, and like, oh my god. It was just so full of emotion and happiness, and just pretty much giving everyone their loved ones by them giving Todd a choice to everything. Like, it is interesting. But it was still pretty powerful moments in general. And moment just put a big grin on my face. And I think that's pretty much all I can say about Tokyo Tunes, honestly. I do think it's a fantastic season show. I don't really hardly find anything negative to say or any issues with the season. I think it is paced pretty well. May not have the most interesting pre-trade characters, but I wouldn't say like duds or anything. I wouldn't say they're like true duds on the cast, honestly. And I still do enjoy them a lot. Like, Coach pretty much like steals every single scene he's in. JT Steven, one of the best final twos in the show's history. So 10 jeans, it's a 10 out of 10. Survivor Samoa, season 19, or as I like to call it, The Russell Hands Show. Yes. The Russell Hands Show. Now, there's definitely a little to talk about Samoa, but it's more because of one player, honestly. We're talking about, like if you were to look at divisive dictionary, Russell Hands would definitely be on the dictionary, because I think out of all the Survivor tests that we have gotten before and since, there's no just that has been more divisive than Russell Hands. And truly for good reason. Like, he is probably the most infamous Survivor player. One of the most infamous Survivor players. Because while he does have a lot of greatness towards him and how he reinvented Survivor, people aren't really a fan of his personality and how he acted a lot of times and all that jazz. And it's hard to see why people will be so irritated Russell, especially if you see all the stuff that he's done nowadays, more so how he acted towards certain players nowadays, how he's still very so gun-ho about certain things, or petty about certain things. Like, he's definitely a unique character, that's for sure. And the reason I call it the Russell Hands Show, because this is a prime example where the season 5 decides to focus so much on Russell Hands, focus so much on him as a character. I think he's still the player that's probably the most confessional out of any player in any season of Survivor, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong, honestly. I think he's the most confessional getter out of any season, any player in any season, to where a lot of players end up pretty much getting pushed to the wayside, to where even the goddamn winner gets pushed to the wayside. But again, we'll get into that. And the reason I'm always just slipping towards Russell, because while there definitely are still a lot of good moments to talk about outside of Russell, he's definitely the thing to focus upon, because obviously he was definitely a hype player at the time, and they wanted to really hype him up for here for his villains. So they decided to just have him be the main focus. To the point where they kind of pushed aside most of the other players. So while they're definitely some good characters aside from Russell, there's not much I'm going to say about most of the players on this cast, honestly. I mean, definitely are some memorable players. Again, Marissa was a very interesting first boot. You want to players to really see Russell. Honestly, then you got Ben, who's probably one of my least favorite players of all time. I know it's not positive, but yeah, at least he's actually memorable in that way. Russell Swan definitely had a pretty epic evacuation, and of course let me return to the Philippines. Eric has a fun downfall, his fun blindside, and also having the epic dream speech which led to Natalie actually winning the season. And while there's not much about John Fincher, especially after the show, especially him and Parvati, and of course what happened afterwards, which I don't want to get into, but he definitely also had a fun downfall. Dave Ball has his moments. Shambo was a fun character throughout her run, especially with her one-sided rivalry with Laura. Jason and Mick definitely had their moments. Definitely had good starts, but kind of fizzled out a little bit later on. There's not much I can say about everyone else, honestly. And Mike, don't know much about it. He ended up getting evacuated as well. Betsy, she was fine. Yasmin, she was fine. Ashley was just there. Liz was there. Kelly was there. Laura, Mary was fine. Dave Ball, again, very under-edited by him. He should be like an actual good character. Monica was there. Like, it's actually kind of surprising she actually ended up having a second chance. Again, Jason and Mick definitely had their moments, but they were kind of just under-edited. And as far as the fact that Brett could have easily won the Survivor's last big threat in Brett could have easily won the season. He was pretty under-edited for a majority of the season. So I was surprised they ended up trying him at that time, and well, we don't remember anything about Brett. So I thought he probably could have easily won the season if he made it to the end. And even when herself, Natalie White, ended up pretty much being so, like, she's still probably the most under-edited player in the show's history. Of the unedited winner. Like, it's more explained why Russell lost than why Natalie won. And while I can understand what they're going for here, again, it makes for a winner that's still pretty underwhelming by the end. Honestly. Again, not going to say much, aside from Russell, I'm not going to say much about the actual cast, because aside from Austin Champa being an all-time great character, there's not much I can say about anyone else, honestly. Honestly, of course, there was definitely some fun moments, of course. Again, Russell. Evacuation is one of the most harrowing evacuations of all time. Again, Ben basically being disqualified from a challenge was pretty interesting, which to all it kind of led to me one of my least favorite players. It was at least memorable. There was definitely some potential worthy moments that happened, but they were just more overshadowed by Russell. Being Russell. And now let's talk about his presence on this season. Again, considering that he's pretty much the main focus on this season, also, like I mentioned, it's actually the first time where we actually see like trans match at 12, which, of course, obviously wasn't not a new thing. It's definitely was surprising at the time. But okay, your enjoyment on this season will depend on how much you can tolerate Russell Hands. So what are my thoughts? Again, I've always been so up and down how I feel about Russell Hands. Honestly, I feel like 1 minute I love him, 1 minute I hate him, 1 minute I'm just so indifferent about him, especially from his later appearances. Here's what I'll say. I think Russell steals the show on this season. Like, in spite of the fact that a lot of us ended, I can definitely see why they decided to focus on how much they did. Again, they wanted to hype up one of the best villains of all time for hero versus villains. I mean, say what you will, but the guy was a game-changing player. I mean, to all people find Azra Clues is now not a known thing, and nothing people do nowadays. It was shocking during this time. It's like, oh my god, he found an island without an actual clue. He found 2 islands without clues. Like, that was game-changing at the time. Like, you can't deny that how impressive that actually is. And he does pull out some impressive moves, like, again, with the Kelly vote out, which is a memorable blind side by Kelly being a nothing character. The way he kind of sneakily tricks everybody and all that stuff, and how he does end up pretty much like playing everybody and everything, especially like Marissa and Bessie. Like, he has some incredible gameplay elements that are pretty impressive to watch. And as a character, he does have some pretty hilarious moments. Again, burning Jason socks and just being having great one-liners throughout the season, having interesting relationships with certain people throughout, especially with Mick and Jason and Laura and a lot of the other characters. Like, you can't help but enjoy him from those little moments. The only big issue with Russell, and this has always been his issue that especially plagues him next season, is that he has one of the worst jury management out of anyone on the cast, any person in the team. He has a boring jury management, which of course led him not to lose this season, but especially will let him to lose in here versus villains. How he treats certain people, how he answers certain things like, hey, which kind of makes for an epic, it makes for an incredible downfall. 2 incredible epic downfalls, especially gets down with talking about heroes versus villains. And again, because he's so focused upon, most of the players are pre-under-edited, which makes for a pretty underwhelming season by the end of it, to where I kind of wish the season was kind of re-edited, to where we're able to see like more of these characters' personalities. I would love to see Dave Ball be Dave Balls, fit into more in some of his relationships, on who they are as people. Because we could have probably gotten an all-time great cast, honestly, because a lot of these characters seem like actually incredible players, but also incredible, interesting people to look at. But unfortunately, we just don't get much focus on the actual characters. It's just the Russell Hands show, like I mentioned earlier. I still wouldn't say Samoa was a bad season. I would say it's decent. But again, depending on how much you talk Russell, I can see why people have it like very low on their rankings or very high on their rankings. I'm just, I guess, a little towards positive, but I'm still kind of indifferent about it because of the focus. I would say I would give Samoa a 6 out of 10. I think it's a perfect rating to get a 6 out of 10. And now we get to the 20th season of Survivor. And this next season, well, I'm actually not going to talk about much about as Hero versus Villains, but it's kind of similar to how about Piranhas. Like, what is this here by Hero versus Villains that hasn't already been said? I do think this is actually still a top 3 season. I do think this season is still an incredible ride. It's still an amazing celebration of 10 years of Survivor. And there's so much to really admire. Well, maybe some of the choices not ideal. Again, the fact that Candace is a hero is still questionable now that I really think about it. And of course, the memory color players that people would want back. But this is still a perfect celebration of all the amazing characters and the players that we experienced throughout many years of Survivor. I mean, for the Heroes Tribe, we got like Sugar from Gabon, Stephanie, Stray Fields, who has an epic blindside, Tom Westman, James, got the two-time Robert Amanda. Again, is probably the most questionable person in the cast, especially her being a hero, considering, well, if you see what she did in, Cook Islands. But she's still a good, interesting presence, especially with her vote out in the episode before that and the role she has on the season. Then you see Rupert being the crazy character that he is, and actually playing some of the more impressive moves of his resume. And then Cole Donaldson, who probably honestly plays his worst game, to be honest, by making 5th place, but he will still have great presence on the season. Then of course we got the notorious evil villains, who I think, despite the heroes having great TV and having great moments, easily steal the show. And Randy being Randy, and it would be interesting seeing his more back forward with Sugar, but that was still a fun present. He was still a fun present. Tyson, of course, had an epic downfall, which we'll get into. Boss around Mario, of course, Coach, and Courtney was a surprising choice considering that she's the one that wasn't really the most receptive on her time on Survivor, but she was still a fun presence and had a fun relationship with Sandra. Danielle, who was probably a little more underrated than I remember her being, but she still had a good presence throughout and a good relationship with Parvati throughout, and her back forth with Russell was also pretty interesting. And then you got Jerry Manthey, who by a landslide plays probably her best game that she has, and probably would have actually won the season she made to the end. Jerry Manthey, again, who was once at one point the most hated player in Survivor. Yeah, remember that? But yeah, Jerry Manthey, easily her best game, easily her best time on Survivor. Which not only plays an incredibly impressive game, but which is a great presence that has many great character moments. And you got Russell Hands, who of course somehow plays even worse than he did in Samoa. And again, another display of terrible goddamn jury management. Until he pissed off everyone so much he didn't see any votes this time. But honestly, it's kind of a fun downfall. Then we get to Sandra Diaz-Twine and Parvati Shallow. And people still debate whether or not they think that Sandra should have won or they think Parvati should have actually won instead. And that's still going on to this day. Hell, it was kind of a prevalent thing to happen in the season of the Traitors. There's still one people think that Parvati should have won, and honestly, I'm fine with Sandra winning. Honestly, again, well, I will say Parvati probably played the more impressive game, honestly, and of course, she has an impressive play, especially with her double I play, which I'll get into. And while Sandra did kind of fail a lot of times, to be honest, especially with trying to get out Russell, she showed that why she is actually a pretty impressive play with her me strategy and has some pretty good moments. Probably some of her better moves in her entire start career, because I think her gameplay and moves kind of go a little bit downhill after this season, especially on Women's Award, but Sandra's still a fun presence, honestly, and the fact that Russell thinks that, oh, I can easily beat Sandra, but it's like, I don't know about that, and look what happened. It makes for a really fun storyline, and a fun rivalry throughout this season, especially when we see Sandra burn Russell's hat in the finale. That's still an iconic moment. Like this season is filled with so many iconic moments. Also, here I mentioned JT. This was kind of the start of his downfall. To obviously got the infamous moment where he ends up giving his idol to Russell, thinking that it was an all-female alliance. And she kind of hinted at it a little bit, but again, like I said, Russell said, "You don't hurt the enemy, the idol," which makes for a pretty hilarious moment and an epic episode of Tribal Council with the Parvati double idol play, which led to JT's downfall. And again, he still gets even worse in Game Changes. Again, this year he tried to go for more of the villain's playbook, this time not by being a hero. And yeah, that kind of cost him. Like, damn, JT, you was someone to play the perfect game. You could, and everyone was excited to see you play. Well, his role this season is honestly fantastic. I think his reputation definitely went down a lot after this season. Somehow went down even worse after Game Changes. But again, we'll get into about Game Changes. Of course, this season you get like two of the most iconic, probably two episodes that I would actually put in my I never thought I was an actual list on my favorite Survivor episodes. I know the fact that episode 6, Banana Etiquette, and episode 10, Going Down in Flames, would be in the top 10. Like, both of those episodes. And Banana Etiquette having a double tribal, and a vote that should have been the simplest vote ever. do a split vote between Poverty Russell and whoever Russell's island he plays on would be himself or Poverty. One of those two go home. Like, it shouldn't be easy in that group that play it, but Russell ended up actually playing an impressive play by getting into Tyson's head till he actually switches vote to Poverty. Russell plays on Poverty, and then Tyson end up getting voted out. And then you got the whole banana etiquette stuff with James, who has a hilarious role in this season, and how he went out with the whole banana etiquette thing, which led to a really fun Trump concept, but also a pretty emotional one as well. And so many iconic character moments in that episode. And of course, the going down Flynn episode, where basically Poverty plays a double idol. No, you see the first time where someone actually plays two idols. Poverty playing an idol for Sandra and Jerry. Man, that's terrible acting, which makes the moments pretty hilarious. Again, two iconic, great episodes, incredible characters, some of the biggest legends upping up their resume, while also proving that he's a terrible when it comes to jury management, and having even more epic downfall than he did in Samoa. But this season, even the other ones, everyone does have a moment to shine where the game's definitely when the legacy kind of goes up with that after the season. They do have many incredible moments here. Again, it was a celebration of 10 seasons of Survivor up to this point. And I was there, honestly. Even though I was a news fan, I was definitely there. I was hype. And again, I don't think it's like the arguing moments, again, Candace and the flipping on them, the hilarious World Challenge moment the final night with me and Danielle fighting for Iron, but Kobe was like, shut up. Again, JT thought that there was going to be an all-women's alliance, which is still pretty hilarious. But, which is, again, pretty goddamn nice. Again, it was, again, a pretty epic finale. And again, we see Sandra basically just dominating and also burning that Russell's hat, which is a very satisfying due to their rivalry throughout the show. Cerie's epic blindside at the 4th episode, that was a pretty epic moment. Again, Rob's downfall, Coach's downfall. Like, so many great character moments, and just so many, there's so many great moments throughout the season, and so many great characters in the season as well. That was a huge celebration. I don't think anything to say about it has already been said. It's an easy 11 out of 10. It's easily a top 3 season. Honestly, it's still, that holds up very well. A season that still has a lot, that has so many incredible moments. It's hard to pick what. Like, I could do like a top 10, top 20 list of my favorite moments of the season. That's how. This one of the season has so many great character moments, so many good relationships, so many just insane, crazy moments. Every episode is one of the seasons where every episode has something to go for it. Every episode is just excellent. So yeah, Hero vs. Villains, chef's kiss.